The year was 1928, and unbeknownst to most everyone, the United States was rapidly approaching the end of what was called the era of prosperity and the upheaval of events that lay ahead in 1929. The good fortune of this time period had allowed for significant advances in culture, technology, and politics. It was the year that Mickey and Minnie Mouse made their first on-screen appearance in the cartoon Plane Crazy. Herbert Hoover was elected the 31st President of the United States, and you could mail a letter to your Aunt Sadie for only 2 cents. You could buy your first loaf of sliced bread known as clean-made sliced bread for 10 cents. And it was also the year that the soon-to-be ubiquitous television set was introduced in America. The Patriot was the last silent film nominated for an Academy Award, and the first all-talking movie, Lights of New York, made its debut.
Hey, you. Shut up that music box, will you? That thing makes me homesick for Broadway.
In 1928, a gallon of gas cost 25 cents, and you could buy a new Ford Model A Roadster for $385, and then drive it to your new home purchased in kit form from a Sears catalog for $520. The average American worker in 1928 made $1.15 an hour and about $2,600 a year. Wings, starring Clara Bow, won the Academy Award for the Best Picture of 1928. And the top song for 1928 was Among My Souvenirs by Paul Whiteman and his orchestra.
There's nothing left for me of days that used to be. I live in memory among my souvenirs.
One other notable event in 1928 occurred on January 4th in Chicago, Illinois.
My name is Mary Kirby Suma. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, 77th and Ashland, January 4th, 1928.
Who were your parents?
Frank Michael Kirby. And my mom was Alice Burns, B-U-R-N-S, Kirby. And then she married Kirby.
Describe your mother. What kind of person was she?
Always busy taking care of her kids, but I'll leave it there in the beginning. And I guess I thought she loved my brother, the oldest, the most. He's the only one they had a picture of. And I was always with her, though. She took me everywhere. And before my mom did anything, she went to Mass every morning, 6 o'clock. And my father stayed home until she got back, then hopped on the streetcar and went and worked for Bowman Dairy Company. This was in the bad times, I guess. but he always had that job.
How would you describe your father?
When he lived with us, you do want the truth. When he lived with us, I didn't see a whole lot of him. And my dad, according to my mother, was an alcoholic. She threw him out and said he was an alcoholic. I only saw him inebriated once in the hallway of the apartment.
So the relationship between your mother and father was not the best relationship?
No. There was bitterness, terrible, on my mother's side. So did
they ever fight or anything?
But I didn't see it. I mean, I heard it at the end. If you go with him, you don't go with me. But I had cousins on my mother's side. And they said my dad was a really nice person.
So you have two brothers, one's older, one's younger, so you're in the middle. How did you guys get along?
Well, my brother Bill and I fought all the time. I took care of my brother who was 5 years younger, and I just adored him. But Bill, my mother adored. I still feel that way.
So did you have responsibilities that you had to do besides taking care of your younger brother?
My brother Bill was 2 years older than me, and my brother Bud was 5 years younger than me. I had to come home. I couldn't get on the volleyball team because I had to get home from my brother. But I didn't mind it. I loved my brother. But I would have to come home from school and be there when my brother got home, my younger one. My brother Bill and I fought over who dusted what. There wasn't a lot to dust. And we would fight over a little table like that. It's not my turn. I mean, it was, but this my mom did by overdoing make Bill hang up his coat, Mom. You leave Billy alone. That's all I ever heard. You leave Billy alone. That wasn't much to ask, considering we didn't have a big apartment.
Did you ever get in trouble when you were young?
No.
Never?
Never. With my mom or my dad? No, I really didn't. I always tried to please. I lived in St. Sabina's, what we call parishes. And went to St. Sabina's school. It was co-ed. I went to Mercy High School, all girls. And we had a jukebox downstairs, so on lunch hour, we just choked ourselves with our sandwich and ran downstairs and danced. Just the girls, it was all girls. Then back to class. And I'll tell you, I had the nicest friends. I was fortunate.
What was your favorite class?
Oh, I guess my elocution. I had a class in that, and I won the statue for that.
What was the statue for?
All acting.
Were you in any plays or
Yes.
anything in high school?
I was in plays.
Do you remember any of the plays that you were in?
Yes. I was Mother Pigo, and I had to wear the nun's outfit. We were a group of nuns. And the nun liked me. But one day, I don't know, I never forgot it. And I didn't speak loud enough, I guess. And she said, I can't hear you. And I said, well, sister, I can't hear you. Boy, did she dislike me from then on, I mean.
What was your first date?
Phil McGuire. And I knew that's who I was going to marry. And I dated him all through high school, all the dances, everything.
What'd you like about him?
I don't know, we just had fun together. Like the one time he rode over on his bike and he said, can you go for a soda with me up on the corner of 79? And I said, well, Phil, I have to ask my mother. I ran upstairs and asked my mother. And things like that, my mother, for some reason, was very good for me. She says, okay, you can go, and then you come right back. So I went, and we had a strawberry soda, and then I came back home. And we used to play tennis together. We did a lot of things with the boys then. And we were always in groups. We usually went to the show if we weren't at, or we would go for dinner.
Did you have a favorite movie when you were growing up?
All of them.
Any one that you really remember?
Well, I like Doris Day. She always wore satin and pajamas. So with the babysitting, I went and bought satin pajamas. You know, and my mother, and I was younger then too, I would go, my mother would let me go to the movies, the Highland Theater, that was up to 79th Street. I lived at 77. And we could walk down the alleys because the front part were all stores. And, you know, we never had to be afraid. And that's real good. Never.
What about music? Do you remember a favorite song that you had when you were, any song that stands out in your mind when you were growing up?
All of them. If I would babysit my cousin, I would take the money and go up to the dime store. This is what my brother Bill said he remembered. And I would buy the song sheet, 10 cents. And I would go in the bathroom and I'd be singing away. And my mother never encouraged me. She said, Mary, will you stop that noise? I'll never. I love to sing. I should have had a better voice. You know, I kept singing. Didn't matter to me. And that's what Bill said. You always bought your song sheet every Saturday it came out. I knew. And if we got a car, when we were bumped up to junior year, we sang in the car all the way to O. Henry's. I had a job. I couldn't get it right away because I was too young. Oh yeah, I worked at Morris B. Sachs, and I'll tell you, Morris B. Sachs was the nicest man, and he would have a group of us up for dinner. It was a Friday. This was the store, and upstairs was an apartment. Morris B. had the nicest clothes. They were the same as Fields, and Morris B. That's where I got the same wedding dress as when I was looking at Fields, and I saved myself money.
So what'd you do at your job at Morris B. Sachs?
I stapled clothes, the price and all of that. I was in high school, and he was so nice. it was Friday and we had meat. And when it came, I said, I'm really sorry, but I'm Catholic and I cannot eat meat on Friday. I was really good. I didn't break my... He said, Mary, he said, I have studied everything. When you're at a guest house, you may eat the meat. Well, he went and had the server. They made it for me, fresh.
How did you hear about Pearl Harbor?
Oh,
What did you think?
when I heard about it, I thought the Japanese were going to come through the alley after me. I was 12. I was in 8th grade then. And, I was crying. And then I was at Margie's house, just, being with them.
Do you remember what life was like for you and your friends during the war?
No, we were young, and I don't think we really realized. And of course, what I remember now is what I see in the movies. I was in 8th grade, and we brought all the newspapers over to Mercy. The trucks were there. I remember saving newspapers. And then we went into high school.
Your older brother was 5 years older.
2.
2 years older.
And then the next one was 5 years younger.
So neither one of them served in the military?
Bill did.
Did he enlist or did he get drafted? Do you remember?
Oh, he got drafted.
And how did your parents...
It was just my mom then.
Okay, how did...
Or maybe it was my dad. Bill was right out of high school. And no, they didn't want him.
And where was he? What did he do?
He was shot as soon as they went down on Okinawa. And they tried to operate and they couldn't. It was shrapnel in his hand and everything. And then he went to Hawaii to that hospital. They never got the shrapnel out. But how lucky he was that he was shot right away. That's how I figure it. Broke my mother's heart. Oh my goodness. And then he came home.
When and how did you meet Arthur?
Well, you had to go to St. Killian's if you wanted to dance. And that was just like a little place next door to the school and the church. And I don't know. It was like a if you went into the thing to hear somebody talk or something. And this one fella came over and asked me if I'd have a dance. No, I just thought he was a nice guy and a dry sense of humor.
So when you met Arthur and you started dating him, was it love at first sight?
No, I just thought he was a nice guy. I just can't explain her. He was the kindest. Never said anything about anybody.
So how long did you date him before?
I'm going to say about a year.
And how did he finally propose to you?
My mom was going to a novena on Friday night. It was Easter time. It was April 7th. I can remember that. It was a Friday night. And Art and I were going to the next one. But it was a Friday, and we were going to the novena, and Art gave me my Easter egg. And I said, it isn't Easter till Sunday. No, I want you to have the Easter egg. And I mean, I could figure that out. It wasn't Easter, and it was an Easter egg he was going to give me. Let's have a bite. I said, it isn't Easter yet, Art. Okay, so we had a bar, you know, and it was the wedding thing. A box, the velvet one. I opened it up, and there was my ring, and I put it on. When we went to the novena, I always met my girlfriends there. And when I came in, the first thing, hi, you know, I showed the ring. And I don't know, then my mother came walking along, and I was under a lamp thing. So anyway, I said, Mom. Oh, Art went up to her and asked if he could have my hand in marriage. She said, well, Art, you're the one that's marrying. It's up to Mary. I said, I've made the choice.
What's your wedding like?
Very small. Well, I didn't have any money. I mean, I didn't make that much, and part of it went to my mom, my insurance. I had to pay my clothing. When I got to be that age, I was 17, you know, and I said, no, I'll pay for my own wedding. It was in a it was on Western Avenue and 105th, and it was a restaurant in the back room. And I was married in Spinus. I wanted my wedding dress. It was just what I wanted. Purchased it at Morris B. Sachs. And I worked on that Friday. I was married on Saturday. Got on the streetcar with my wedding dress. You went for this, and I'm carrying it. I went to 77th, got off, walked from Halsted to May, which is right next to Racine. And my good Aunt Marie came over. She was waiting for me to help me. And I was married 10:30 the next day or at Mass. And we had an afternoon thing. I had an accordion player. I didn't have the money for a bigger place.
What was life like as a young married couple?
It was wonderful. My whole life was. He was just, I don't know. To this date, yes, I was lucky. All I can tell you is, from the day I got married, I had the most wonderful life. No one could beat it. I just had that kind of a husband.
What advice would you give to your grandchildren?
Be happy and smile. When you see people, smile, and they'll smile back. And that will go on. And I always said that to people, to this day. And it made me happy when I would see somebody smiling.